From Washington, D.C., Roland Martin. Good morning.
Good morning, Tom, Sybil, and Guy. Shout out to Spike Lee. We had a great conversation yesterday in New York. We live streamed it, Roland Martin Unfiltered, so go check it out on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube as well. And he talked about when he flew to Atlanta to chat with Tyler Perry, a conversation that he had not revealed before. So you love that interview. Let's get right to today's topic. Omarosa is the subject all over national media as a result of her new book, which is called Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House. She joins us right now. Omarosa, good morning.
Good morning, Roland.
First and foremost, you offer a number of things in this book that have been called explosive, recording various conversations. You've talked about Trump using the N-word. The White House is fighting back left and right. The question that a lot of black folks have asked, and I'll ask you, if you saw these things during the campaign, if you saw these things initially in the first few months of the Trump White House, why did you stay? Why not quit and say, I can't be a part of this? Why keep touting him as leader of the free world?
So thank you for having me on. First of all, in the book, you'll see that I was trying to verify the rumors that I heard throughout the campaign. When they first said that there might be a tape, I was like a dog on the hunt. I wanted to find out if he actually said that. And if he said it, I was going to expose it. But as you can see by how the campaign is trying to cover themselves up, saying they never knew about it, now they knew about it and all that, you can see that I was up against a big challenge. Absolutely, I was working on the inside to find out the truth about him. But the other thing is, I was very reluctant to leave the administration before trying to find someone to replace me because I didn't want them making decisions about us without us. And so I looked to see if there would be someone to take the position if I left. As you know, 7 months later, they still have not found one person to work on African-American issues in this administration. And that's been very damaging to policies that are important to our community.
When you talk about, again, how this administration has been working on behalf of African Americans, you've got black Republicans who said you were blocking many people. You were blocking a lot of those folks from coming in, working on those issues. There's no love lost between the likes of Michael Steele and Kay James and others who are longtime black Republicans. What do you say to that?
I think it's very bizarre that they say, on one hand, that I wasn't effective, I didn't have any access or power, and then on the other hand, that I had the ability to block hundreds of appointees to the White House. Let's be very clear. My job title was not Director of Presidential Personnel or HR. I was not the Chief of Staff. I didn't have the power to hire or fire. And it's very interesting to me that now that I'm gone, shouldn't the floodgates just open up and all of those people who claim that I was blocking should be sitting in the White House? But in fact, they're not, Roland. There are only 3 African-American appointees in the White House right now. There should be hundreds if it were in fact true that I had the ability to keep people out.
You had a relationship with Donald Trump for 15 years, of course, being on The Apprentice 3 different times. That was a reality show that was on TV One as well. When you look at his history, when you look at his comments about the Central Park Five, saying they should go to prison, get the death penalty, when you look at starting his career off racism and discrimination against African Americans when it came to housing, we can go down the line. Why even work with this man? Even after his birther stuff in 2011, why even stand by his side and campaign on his behalf when that was a clearly racist attack on President Barack Obama?
Well, it's incredibly important to realize that hindsight is 20/20. Sure, I can look at the body of all that right now, but back in 2003, Donald Trump wasn't the crazy lunatic that he is today. I signed up to be on that show thinking that I could run one of his companies. I wanted to be a billionaire like him, having grown up in the projects. I thought, hey, I can learn from this person. And I did his show, and I had great success. At that time, we didn't see the things that he's saying now, him calling people dogs like he called me, him calling me lowlife. And when people say his discrimination case, when I took him to task about each and every one of them, and I couldn't have taken him to task about these things if I wasn't close enough to charge him and say, why are you saying this birther issue? He says, well, Hillary Clinton started the birther rumor. This is just politics. I'm just playing politics. I had an opportunity to ask him about every single one of these things, and he had a justification. And I actually gave him the benefit of the doubt. It sounds very silly now, and I know many people are saying, that's stupid, that's dumb, but the truth of the matter is I had an opportunity to take him to task for every single thing, and I had a blind spot when it came to him. And so, in hindsight, sure, it looks completely, totally unbelievable, but the truth of the matter is when you have friendship and loyalty and you're as close to a person as I was to him, it's hard to see the things that I see now.
Why should African Americans or even the general public, why should they believe you? A lot of folks talked about credibility. The folks have said you have none. They've questioned why you even hired. They've questioned his credibility. Why should anybody believe anything that you have to say in this book or in interviews about your time in the White House?
Roland, I'm so glad you asked that because I keep hearing the press saying she has credibility issues, but I want them to list one thing that I've said that has been proven not true. And for everything that's in my book, I have documentation, verification, and as you heard, I've got receipts. Everything that I put in this book has been well corroborated. And so when they say credibility issue, every single thing I've been taken to task for, I have proven to be completely true. And so I don't have a problem with people taking a look and scrutinizing because, believe me, Simon & Schuster would not have allowed me to even put it in the book if it wasn't true and backed up.
You, of course, you said yesterday in an interview with Katie Tur on MSNBC that Trump was aware of the Clinton emails before WikiLeaks actually dropped those emails. Other media said you've offered no proof to that. When you make that comment, what does that mean? That they were aware of the emails before? Were they in hand? Did the Trump people play a role in what emails were leaked by WikiLeaks and when?
Those are questions that unfortunately I'm going to have to leave for Robert Mueller's office. As I stated in the book, I've had to be interviewed by that investigation. So I'm going to be very careful about not putting out things that Robert Mueller is going to keep coming back to ask me about.
So one second. So you've just double checking something. So you've already been interviewed by Robert Mueller and his investigative team.
I absolutely have, yes.
And how long ago was that? How long was the interview?
Well, first of all, I was interviewed by them in the spring. And I can't go into the details of where, who, or how because, as I said, this is a part of the special prosecutor's investigation. But certainly I sat down with them and with my legal team and answered every single question that they have. And as I've stated, if he comes back and wants to follow up and have more questions, I will completely cooperate with his office.
The Trump team said they're going to sue. They're going to go after you with an arbitrator because you signed a non-disclosure agreement in the campaign. What do you say to that?
They have. In fact, they have sicked their full force of their legal team on me, and we received notification, as you said, about arbitration. I don't really have a problem with it. It's interesting that when Corey Lewandowski, the former campaign chair of the Trump for president, wrote a full book. Donald Trump not only endorsed it, but he had the man on Air Force One and in the White House taking pictures with the book and pushing it. Sean Spicer wrote a book about the campaign and behind-the-scenes things in the campaign, and Donald Trump also tweeted and endorsed it. I write a book about behind-the-scenes in the campaign, and he loses his mind. And so I'm not really concerned because I'm on strong legal standing. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you promote one person's book about behind-the-scenes of the campaign, you can't then attack another person because they say something unfavorable.
Black folks have been, I've looked at a lot of the comments and very angry at you. That was the case. Folks have called you a traitor, a turncoat, a sellout for even supporting Donald campaigning on his behalf for president. Black folks always have this phrase, Omarosa cannot be welcomed back to the cookout or the barbecue. Let's talk. Are you concerned at all in terms of how African Americans see you, perceive you, despise you? Does that concern you? Does it bother you? And do you believe that you have to repair relationship with a lot of African Americans?
Well, that was a lot of questions in one, so let me just try to take them one by one. First and foremost, of course, I'm concerned about our community and their thoughts about me, but I understand a lot of that animosity comes from the very fact that Donald Trump is probably the most hated man by Black America, and I was associated with that. And so I have to certainly accept the responsibility of serving in his administration and being very close to him. So I know where that animosity is coming from. But I also have to let African Americans know where I was coming from, and that was a big push behind doing this book, so they could see the inner workings of the types of policies that I was fighting for. When you mentioned about the cookout, I hear these things and I understand, but I also know that the Black community is not a monolith. We don't all just think in one way. I've gotten a lot of support from many people in the African American community who believe that we should not have people making decisions about us without us. And then, of course, on the other side, there are people who call me names and say very derogatory things about me. For that, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. I don't answer to those things, so I don't worry about it. But I am working to help people understand that this is a very crucial time for us. And when we have people who are attacking our community and trying to undermine who we are, we can't be divided and allow them to conquer us. We have to work together to try to bring about change in our community.
Should Black people even trust anything that Donald Trump says to Black people, whether it's Black pastors or anybody else?
I think his actions speak louder than words. He took his only African-American appointee, locked her in the Situation Room for 2 hours, and threatened that things could get ugly for you. I think his actions should be examined, not what he says, because they can't be believed.
Omarosa, the book is called Unhinged, Insider's Account on the Trump White House. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Roland.
Interesting, Roland.
Interesting.
That was something.
Okay, something interesting. Huggy next, 27 past the hour.